Welcome to the Truth Corner. My name is Kama Burton with Loving Me First, and today's session is Suffering in Silence. Those are very powerful words. Again, my friend D.P. DeMarco, he just wrote a play called Suffering in Silence, which we have lots of conversation about this because we never know what somebody is going through. Now, I grew up in church since I was 5 years old, and all I know is church life. Not club, not hanging out. Matter of fact, people at school knew I was in church so much that they would say, "Kama, what you doing this weekend? Going to church?" And they would laugh, and I say, "Absolutely, that's where I was." I had friends there. I built a community there. Me and my friends used to hang out, and church was more than just hanging out it was just going to church. We had a good friendship, and so that's what I did. That's all I knew. But then I knew some things that were kind of taboo in the church and things that weren't talked about in the church. And so I went through my relationship, my marriage, literally suffering in silence. Who really wants somebody to know what they had been through? Who really truly wants someone to know that they were hurting and being abused? I remember someone asked a friend of mine and said, "So how's Kama in her marriage?" And she said, "Oh, it's cool." And the lady said, "Oh yeah, but she'll never tell you the truth." And I remember kind of being hurt from that because it was somebody at church, somebody I knew. And for them to say that, I said, why would they say that? They don't know anything about what it is that I'm going through. So now my defenses are up. And so I was hurt. And kind of when I look back, if somebody felt like they knew what I was going through, I sometimes wonder, why didn't you say anything? Well, a lot of people didn't know that when I was going to church that I had to have a conversation with my ex-husband about it. There were things I had to do for him and to him in order for me to get up and go to church, just so that he can be satisfied while I go and worship the Lord. And it was hard for me because mentally I'm on my way, driving to church, thinking of things that I had to do just so that I can get out the house. And it was hard. It was really hard. People didn't know. I remember a particular time that he was so angry at me about something that he socked me so hard in my eye that I ended up with a black eye. And I didn't go to church for a couple of weeks. And when I finally got out the house, I wouldn't even go around my family because at that time there was control, but there was times I can go hang out with my family, and he was okay with it. So I would go and hang out with my mom, and I wouldn't go around her. And she always talks about me because I'm not a person that wears a lot of makeup. This is about as enhanced as you're gonna get with me. I have eyeliner and Carmex on, okay? I don't have my daughter's lip gloss on because I haven't found my bottle, but I'll get some from her anyway. But this is about it. This is what you get. What you see is what you get. But one thing about my mom, she always talks about me because when I put on eyeliner, my eyeliner runs because I used to wear it under here. And every time she sees me, she's like, "Why do you wear that? It's always down here." So this particular time I went to her home, and by this time I'm thinking that everything is clear. I bought some foundation to patch up my eyes so that way when I went to work, people couldn't see the black eye. And so no one said anything about it, so I figured I was hiding it good. Well, I thought it was gone. And when I got to my mom's house, she said, "Girl, you need to learn how to put on eyeliner. You're too old to be you're still having that dark stuff under your eye." And I was like, "Oh, Mom, what you talking about?" And I just went like this. I was like, whatever. And I just kept going. Well, she didn't know that 2 weeks prior, a week and a half prior, my ex-husband had just hit me in the face so hard that it had blackened my eyes. She knows now, but she didn't know at the time. And I remember there was another time that she had came up to me and she said, she had called me, she said, "You're not the same person. Are you good?" And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "What you talking about?" There's something different about you. And one thing I will say is that mothers and their intuitions, they know something is happening. Well, whatever it was, she just continued to pray. She prayed and she prayed and she prayed for me but she didn't think that he was physically abusing me. She knew it was something, but she didn't think it was physically abusive. So I would have to go around and act like everything was all good in my house. I mean, I was the actress. I probably should have got an Oscar for how great I was in front of people, because I didn't want people to know that when I went home at night that I would be yelled at, that I would be cussed out. I remember a particular night that my ex-husband would pinch me, literally. He was so mad at me about something, and he just pinched me every time he thought about it. Just pinched me and pinched me and pinched me. I'm not talking about nothing little. I mean, just pinching me hard, just because, and then I have to get up and go to work as if everything is all good. Or even the night that he kept me up all night talking for almost 6 hours nonstop, and the moment I dozed off at 4 o'clock in the morning, he took a cigarette and he burned me on my arm, and I had to go to work the next day and cover that up because I didn't want people to see the cigarette burns. And I had to walk around an office as if everything was okay when I was hurting on the inside, because I was told that I was nothing, and I was told that nobody cares about me, and I was put down for the things that I was going through at home, as I'm literally suffering in silence. But then I wonder, were people looking deep enough? Because there were too many times that I was walking into that office and my eyes were puffy and they were red from me crying the night before or the morning of, and they didn't say, "Kama, are you okay?" See, we don't look at those things. What we do is we think we're supposed to see these signs that are obvious, maybe a black eye that you can see, or maybe a something on your cheek or your face or your arm or webs or what have you, and then we feel like we're supposed to say something. But when you see somebody crying, and that's why when I see people not looking right, I just feel it. I have this discernment where I say, is everything okay? Because I know that there's so many people out there that's suffering in silence and nobody's saying anything. So people ask me often, so what do you do? So what happens when you do know, or you can tell? How do you approach someone? What do you say to them? So this is what I say, because just so happened I've seen a couple of people get physically abused in front of my face on the street. Now, when I see something on the street, I call the police immediately. They may not see me, but I'll call 911 immediately. I seen a guy literally sock his girlfriend in front of my house, but they denied it. I've seen a lot, and then I felt things. I felt in my spirit something wasn't right about something, so I'll ask people. Now, this is what I tell people. Everybody's not going to tell you their truth up front. They're going to hide it. So when you watch TV and you see these things such as, "Oh, girl, I ran into the ironing board. Oh, girl, girl, I'm clumsy. I'm always tripping over something. You know how I am." That's a defensive mechanism. And that lets you know right there, they're not ready to let go, and they're fearing their husband or their boyfriend or whoever it is that they're with. How do you react to that? Well, for one, you don't want to just say, "Girl, I know something going on with you. Why you ain't saying nothing? Why you ain't telling me? I know he ain't no good. I seen how he..." You don't want to do that, because what that does is that turns that person against you, because now you become that enemy. So it's just a matter of asking questions consistently, but be subtle with it at the same time. Now, if it's something that you really see that's happening, just ask right out. Or you say something like, "You know what? I just noticed that there's some changes with you. Is everything good?" And see what the reaction is. Now, if they start getting defensive, because a lot of times they will know that they're getting defensive because they're afraid that you're finding out their truth. What woman or man, because domestic violence happens in men too. 1 out of 7 men has reported domestic violence as well. What man or woman would be so open just to say, "Oh yeah, I'm getting beat at home"? Think about it. How comfortable would a person be? So think about that. With me, one of the things that I dealt with was embarrassment. So going back to the topic of what happened at church, people told me not to marry the man in the first place. My friends that I grew up with, they kept telling me, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And they're the ones that actually told the pastor that I was pregnant. I was so angry at them because I didn't want to tell him, but they told him because they didn't know what to do. And so they came to me and they were like, "Don't marry him." So how was I to go back to them to say, "Well, this is what I was going through"? So to go back to tell my church friends or tell the people at the church or people that I knew, I was embarrassed because a grown woman, okay, yes, I'm in my teens and 20s or what have you, has allowed somebody to physically harm them, and I didn't fight back. Then I started dealing with, I just got married. They're gonna say, I told you so. Didn't I tell you not to marry him? Didn't I say this? Didn't I say that? So all of this stuff is going through my head, and it kept me there. So now that I'm quiet about what I'm doing, people don't need to know what's going on, I'm suffering even more because I'm worried about somebody else's opinion. And that's my truth.